Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly roundup. In this week's program, violence in Nepal intensifies, 8 policemen killed by protesters. Open letter from relatives of disappeared rights lawyers in China. Somchai Neelapaijit's widow Angkhana appointed to the National Human Rights Commission of Thailand. Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly roundup. I'm Josephina Bergström. Let's first turn to Nepal, where clashes between Tharu protesters and the police on August 24 in Tikapur, Kailali District has resulted in the death of a 2-year-old child and the lynching of 8 policemen. Some police officers were burnt alive after being stabbed with homemade weapons. Protesters showed no mercy to the officers who pleaded for their lives. The Nepal army has been mobilized to assist the Nepal police in maintaining order. The root cause of the violence appears to be the extreme emotions some communities have felt since Nepal's delineation into 6 states. The Tharu, who originates from the southern foothills on the Himalayas, are demanding a separate Tharugat region. Following the lynching in Kailali District, Tharu fear revenge by the Pahadesh, an ethnic group from the northern hills. On cue, Pahadesh groups have vandalized houses and shops belonging to Tharu. Most male Tharu have fled the district, fearing repercussions. Many have fled to Bardia, others have fled to India. Takipar and nearby villages are virtually empty now due to fear generated by the violence, the mobilization of the army, and the burning down of houses. According to the Asian Human Rights Commission, the government of Nepal and political parties must open up dialogue on 2 fronts. At the local level in Kailali, in order to mitigate the immediate risk to further violence, and second, at the national level in the constitution drafting process in order to address the root causes of the violence. There is high risk of further violence if inclusive dialogue is not facilitated. Those who have fled to India should be given encouragement to return and be rehabilitated. The women and children who remain in the area need to be given security in the interim. The environment of fear has to be addressed to forge a path forward. The Asian Human Rights Commission has urged the government of Nepal to immediately take measures to avert re-escalation of the violence. Next, as soon as possible, army deployment needs to be withdrawn, and finally, justice must be allowed to prevail, both in terms of the individual acts of violence committed and in terms of the rightful place of all communities in a united, multi-ethnic Nepal. Next, AHRC TV reports from China. Following on from last week's International Day in support of victims of enforced disappearance, families of 12 human rights lawyers who disappeared during July's crackdown have released an open letter. The letter, addressed to China's Minister of Public Security, Guo Shenkun, states that fear and panic do not beset these lawyers and their families only. They beset the entire Chinese society. The families have been kept in the dark as to the whereabouts of their detained relatives. Dozens of rights lawyers and others were arrested on July 9th in an unparalleled attempt by the state to stamp out internal criticism of the Communist Party. Most were released after a stern warning not to speak out, but more than 20 activists, lawyers, and legal workers remain detained, with some being held in undisclosed locations. An excerpt from the letter reads, 23 PRC citizens have been disappeared, some for as long as 50 days now. And the public security apparatus you head has no intention to honor our lawful rights to information. Why? Since China has been flaunting governing the country according to the law, we wonder, is the law the government acts on the same as the promulgated law? Words fail to express our anxiety and helplessness. The Asian Human Rights Commission views China's recent deterioration of individual freedoms and rights with great concern. Finally, AHRC TV recently caught up with Thai human rights defender Angkhana Neelapaijit. Angkhana lost her husband, human rights lawyer Somchai Neelapaijit, in 2004 when he was abducted from the streets of Bangkok and disappeared. His remains have never been found. At the time, Angkhana was a housewife looking after her 5 children. This month, Angkhana has been appointed to the National Human Rights Commission of Thailand. In this interview, Angkhana speaks about her long and difficult journey from that terrible time 11 years ago to today, when she is a well-known figure in her country and beyond, inspiring countless others to believe that anything is possible. Here is Angkhana Neelapaijit.
After my husband disappeared on 12 March 2004, everything changed. So you know that when somebody disappears and many things affect to my life, especially the legal things. As for the domestic law in Thailand, I cannot do anything. It's like my life has been started since then. I had to wait for 5 years so that I can ask the civil court to declare that my husband Somchai Neelapaijit was dead by the civil law, so that I can manage my properties and I can take care of my own children, because actually my children, they cannot ask for the passport to traveling abroad for their study, nothing, because they have, regarding to the Thai law and the regulation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the father have to sign the document if the children is under 18, so that everything stuck. Yeah, so that and then another thing is that you know about unjust is very traumatized in our life, and so that I talk with my children, how can we continue our normal life. And you know, when my husband disappeared, in the newspaper, in the television, many people say that Somchai is a bandit lawyer. So that, you know, how can we live? How can we spend our daily life with our friends, colleagues, our relatives? And we found that most of our relatives and friends go away. Even Somchai close friends, even the lawyer, they ran to our neighbor countries. Everybody are in fear, but we have to stay. We have to stay at our house. We have to continue our living. The children are growing, so that first time that I think that how can I move on, and then I start my struggle. I have a lot of new friends and colleagues. AHRC is one of my good friends. We like the family. They observe Somchai trial in the court and make a lot of documents. They support me to go to Geneva to have a speech or whatever, so that I moving again and again with many things that progress. And then on 2008, the National Human Rights Commission Thailand endorsed me as the representative for the National Assembly, National Legislative Assembly. And then when I entered that assembly, I was appointed to be the member of the Constitution Drafting Committee. This is my first time to engage to the politics. And then when my role is about the drafting committee, I learn a lot about politics. I learn a lot about the law, and I can convince other members to put some word of enforced disappearance in the memorandum of Thai Constitution 2007. And then after that, I engaged with a lot of ad hoc committee at the Parliament. By the way, I'm the subcommittee of the National Human Rights Commission. And then on 2006 and 2007, I established my own foundation. It's the Justice for Peace Foundation, because I would like to help the family of victims of infant disappearance, I can say that I'm the victims' families organization in Thailand. Until now, I have no salary. I have no, as an NGO, I have no salary. I have only small grant and all the money for the activities and for the families of the victims to access to justice. So this year, recently, the National Human Rights Commission have finished their term and they have to selected the new commissioner. So that many people support me to endorse myself. So lots of colleagues, I think they have more than 20 NGOs who are endorsed to be the National Human Rights Commission. And only me as the NGO that was appointed. Yeah, we have seven persons that have been appointed, and it must have approved by the parliament. And on 20 of August 2015, last couple of weeks, the parliament approved only 5 persons, and I got the highest score vote at the parliament. I can't believe how I can be here today. Yeah, but it's like that. Sometimes it's God wish me to do more for my country, for victims, and for human rights. So my life after 2004 always on the transition. I don't know that this will be the last point of my life, or I can go forward in another position higher than this or not. I don't know, but it's up to God, and I think that I can do my best. I will do my best. My life can be example, can show to all the victims that if you not give up, if you can take care of yourself, healing your own scar. Yes, the scar is always in my mind, but you have to move forward. You can make it. Small people can do such big things, I think. So I would like to thank you, everybody that's supporting me. I can't believe that in the parliament, Thailand is under the junta regime. Most of the members of National Legislative Assembly now, most of them are the security forces, the soldiers and the police, the retired officer. But I got the highest score vote. If I can do, I believe that all the victims can do this also, and we can change. I hope and I believe that at the end we can change. I used to engage to work to have the National Human Rights Commission Thailand for many years ago. I'm the subcommittee of the enforced disappearance, and I'm the subcommittee of the Southern unrest in South Thailand. So that what is my priority is about the rule of law, about access to justice, the torture cases, the torture issue, the enforced disappearances, because now Thailand is on the way of drafting the domestic law on torture and enforced disappearance bill. So this is very important time that how can the National Human Rights Commission Thailand can give the recommendation to the government or the law maker to have a perfect law on torture and enforced disappearance. By the way, in another way, I'm a woman and Muslim women, and you know that women found a lot of barriers to access to justice, especially the women in the remote area. the cultural, the mindset, and many things. That will be my priority. I would love to have the women to access to justice.
That is all for this weekly roundup. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.